There are truths in this world that the noise will never tell you, truths buried beneath layers of comfort, distraction, and the endless pursuit of approval. You were not meant to stumble upon them easily, because if you did, the illusion that keeps most people asleep would begin to crumble. You're not supposed to know that peace doesn't come from the world bending to your will. It comes from you bending your will toward the world, toward its storms, its silence, its unexpected cruelties. You are not here to master life as a tyrant, but to move through it as a student who knows that control is not over things, but over yourself. You're not supposed to know that the opinions of others are clouds, shifting, dissolving, meaningless to the mountain that stands unmoved beneath them. You waste so much of your sacred breath defending your image, your worth, your name, when all of it is dust carried by a passing wind. You were not born to be seen. You were born to see. You're not supposed to know that suffering is not a punishment but a mirror. Every ache, every disappointment, every loss, it reflects the truth of what you cling to. The pain is not the enemy. Attachment is. The one who learns to suffer well, to stand calm amid the chaos, is the one who cannot be broken. You're not supposed to know that your mind is your kingdom, that every thought entertained is a guest you invited. You open the gates to fear, and fear sits at your table. You open them to anger, and anger eats your portion. You let them stay, and they rule you. But you can close the gates. You can stand at the threshold and say, no more. The fortress is not lost. It is merely unguarded. You're not supposed to know that time is not running from you. It is moving through you. You speak of wasted years, as if life were something you owned, as if it could be stolen, but it was never yours. It was only ever borrowed, and the lender asks no repayment, only awareness. Live as though each breath were your last, and you will live every day as though you have not missed a single one. You're not supposed to know that the world does not owe you fairness. You cry for justice as if it were written into the laws of the cosmos, but the universe has no bias for comfort. It only obeys order. You are given life, and with it, the power to meet whatever comes. The rest is not your concern. You're not supposed to know that what you fear losing was never yours to keep. The body you polish, the possessions you chase, the relationships you idolize, all will fade as all things do. You hold them tightly and they cut your hands. You hold them gently and they pass through, leaving peace behind. You're not supposed to know that greatness has nothing to do with recognition. The world applauds the loud, but life itself bows to the disciplined. True strength is silent. True virtue asks for no audience. It does not shine under the lights. It endures in the dark. You're not supposed to know that everything you seek is already within you. You search for wisdom in books, for happiness in others, for peace in faraway places. But the well is not out there. It is in you, buried under the noise of wanting. Dig. Be still. The water waits. You're not supposed to know that the moments you resist are the very ones meant to shape you. You pray for ease, but ease makes you weak. You pray for speed, but delay makes you wise. Life does not give you what you ask for. It gives you what you need to become who you were meant to be. You're not supposed to know that nothing new happens under the sun. Every fear you feel has been felt 1,000 times. Every triumph has been lived before. The pattern repeats, and yet you are given the chance to respond differently. That is your freedom, not to change the world, but to change your stance toward it. You're not supposed to know that love is not possession. It is not demanding nor desperate. It is the calm understanding that what is meant to stay will stay without your grasp. It is not taken, not earned. It is recognized. And the one who truly loves seeks not to own but to free. You're not supposed to know that happiness is not pleasure. Pleasure is a spark. Happiness is a flame that requires tending. Pleasure demands the world to satisfy it. Happiness asks only your own discipline. The one who knows the difference ceases to chase and begins to build. You're not supposed to know that silence is your greatest teacher. In the stillness between thoughts, in the space between breaths, there is truth. But few ever hear it, because they cannot bear the quiet. They fear what they might find when the noise stops. But you, if you are brave, will listen. You're not supposed to know that every ending is a beginning disguised. Death, loss, failure, they are not the closing of a door, but the turning of a page. To resist is to stand frozen in the ashes. To accept is to step into a larger fire and discover that you cannot burn. You're not supposed to know that gratitude is power. The one who counts blessings multiplies them. The one who counts wounds deepens them. Whatever is before you, beauty or suffering, give thanks, and you transform it into strength. This is the alchemy of the wise. You're not supposed to know that the enemy is never out there. Not the critic, not the betrayer, not the storm. The true battle is within. The part of you that wishes the world were easier. The part that clings to comfort. The part that fears to stand alone. Master that, and no one can defeat you. You're not supposed to know that freedom is not the absence of restraint, but the mastery of it. Anyone can do what they want, only the disciplined can do what is right. The chains are not on your hands, they are in your habits. Break them, and even a cell becomes a temple. You're not supposed to know that life is not about becoming more, but becoming less. Less distracted, less reactive, less driven by vanity. To subtract is to see clearly. When you let go of everything false, what remains is unshakable. You're not supposed to know that all of this, every hardship, every doubt, every fleeting joy, is training, not for the world's reward, but for the soul's endurance. The mind forged in difficulty becomes diamond. The heart that stays steady in chaos becomes peace itself. You're not supposed to know these things, because once you do, you can no longer live blindly. You will see through the game, the endless chase, the false victories, the noise that numbs. You will walk differently, speak less, stand taller, suffer quietly. You will stop begging the world to change and begin the harder work of changing yourself. You rise each day believing you wake to the same world, the same demands, the same noise that tells you who you should be. But beneath that surface lies another world, a quieter one, untouched by praise or blame, untouched by the chaos that surrounds you. That world is not out there, it lives within you. The mind is the hidden kingdom. Everything you experience, every victory, every heartbreak, every fear, passes first through that unseen gate. The world does not break you. Your thoughts about the world do. You imagine the battle is external, your struggle with people, with circumstance, with fate. But the true war has always been within. The enemy is not the one who mocks you, nor the event that wounds you, nor the disappointment that crushes your plans. The enemy is the thought that says, I cannot bear this. The moment you believe that lie, you surrender your throne. You hand your scepter to chaos, and you call it truth. But if you could silence the noise, even for a breath, you would see, you have always been the ruler here. Your mind is the only domain you were ever meant to govern. Yet most live as exiles in their own empire. They let fear write their laws, desire issue their decrees, and anger sit on the throne. They forget the first rule of the kingdoms. The power to command begins with the power to obey. To command your thoughts, you must first discipline your attention. To rule your reactions, you must first master your impulses. The world outside will never bow to you, but your own mind can, if you train it. You have been taught to chase control outward. You fight for possessions, influence, recognition, as if owning more would make you more whole. But control over others is illusion. Control over fortune is fantasy. Only one conquest is real, the self. All else is borrowed. The wealth, the status, the admiration, they vanish the moment the tide turns. But self-mastery endures even when all else burns away. It is the only empire that cannot fall. You say, I cannot help what I feel. But that is not truth. It is neglect. You have abandoned the gatekeeper of your mind. Thoughts enter unchallenged, and emotions follow as invaders. They occupy your peace and declare it their territory. But they are guests, not rulers. You can watch them arrive, watch them depart, and remain untouched. Anger will come, it always does, but you need not serve it. Fear will whisper, but you need not answer. The wise man observes his thoughts as clouds passing across the sky, knowing the sky remains unchanged. You are not your anger, you are not your fear, you are the space that witnesses them both. When you remember that, nothing can enslave you. But forget it, and the smallest insult becomes a chain, the smallest loss a collapse. You bow before shadows of your own making. The strong do not conquer others, they conquer the tempest within. Do not seek to change people, they are driven by the same storms you are learning to quiet. Do not rage against events, they are neither for you nor against you. The rain does not fall to spite you, nor the sun rise to please you. Things happen as they must, and you decide whether to suffer or to understand. You do not control the waves, only your stance upon the deck. Stand firm, and the sea cannot drown you. Your mind shapes the world. Two men face the same misfortune, one curses the heavens, the other grows stronger. The same storm, two empires, one fallen, one unshaken. What differs is not the event, but the ruler. One abdicated his throne to emotion, the other held the line of thought with discipline. What you think determines what you see, and what you see determines how you live. When you lose control of your mind, you become a slave to externals. You are tossed between moods, opinions, cravings, fears, like a leaf carried by wind. One word wounds you, one praise inflates you, one rejection shatters you. You are not living, you are being lived by everything around you. But when you regain command, the wind still blows, yet you stand unmoved. You begin to act instead of react, to respond instead of resist. You see that freedom was never about escaping the storm, but mastering yourself within it. Do not expect the world to soften for you. It will not. Expect instead to grow stronger. Expect instead to refine your mind into something that can endure. When insulted, ask, does this change who I am? When wronged, ask, does this diminish my virtue? When defeated, ask, does this take away my ability to begin again? If the answer is no, you have lost nothing that matters. The mind is not meant to be a battlefield forever. Through discipline, it becomes a sanctuary. But that peace is not passive, it is earned. You cannot buy serenity, you must forge it in the heat of restraint. When emotion rises, you do not suppress it, you stand beside it and say, I see you, but you are not my master. That is the voice of a sovereign. Guard what you allow inside. The mind feeds on what you give it. Poison it with envy, and it will turn against you. Feed it with gratitude, and it will grow still and clear. The world is full of noise designed to make you forget your power. Every advertisement, every argument, every endless stream of opinions whispers the same message. Look outward, compare, desire fear. But if you listen long enough to the silence beneath it, you will hear the truth written. Remember, rule. To rule your mind is not to silence thought, but to see through it. To observe the rise of emotion and remain composed. To stand in awareness as the noise fades into insignificance. The wise do not chase calm, they carry it. They do not demand peace, they become it. This kingdom within you is not a place of escape, but of preparation. You retreat inward not to avoid the world, but to return to it renewed. For every act of patience, every moment of restraint, every instance of choosing virtue over impulse, builds the walls of your inner citadel higher, and from that fortress you can face the storms without trembling. You will be tested. The world will not respect your peace. It will provoke you, tempt you, wound you, to see if you will surrender your throne. But remember, no one can steal your composure. You can only give it away. Every reaction is a choice disguised as instinct. Every outburst is a surrender disguised as strength. And every calm response is a victory unseen by the crowd, but felt by the soul. When anger knocks, open the door slowly. Ask it what it wants to teach you. When fear whispers, listen without bowing. When despair visits, let it sit and pass. You are not their servant, you are their witness. The moment you can watch without being pulled, you have reclaimed your crown. Power is not shouting louder than the world. It is being silent when the world screams. It is the stillness of a mountain while winds rage around it. That stillness is not weakness. It is mastery. Anyone can be calm when life is kind. But when injustice, chaos, and loss come, and you remain steady, that is strength beyond measure. Do not be deceived by appearances. The one who seems triumphant in the world but turbulent in mind is a prisoner. The one who walks quietly yet rules his thoughts is a king. You will meet people who command armies but not their tempers, who possess wealth but not peace, who win arguments but lose themselves. Their victories are hollow. The true triumph is unseen. It happens in the mind each time you choose discipline over impulse, clarity over confusion, virtue over vanity. The world teaches conquest through force, but the greater victory is inner harmony. You may not always win in the eyes of others. You will be misunderstood, underestimated, perhaps mocked for your stillness. But within, you will feel the weight of chains fall away. The one who does not need to prove is already free. Remember, no insult can touch the one who does not accept it. No event can disturb the one who decides it cannot. The same world that torments some becomes a teacher to others. The difference lies not in what happens, but in who commands the mind that witnesses it. When you stand before chaos, ask not for calm seas, ask for a steady hand. When you face betrayal, ask not for fairness, ask for the strength to remain just. When you lose what you love, ask not for return, ask for wisdom to love without possession. This is the language of the ruler within. And though the world may never recognize your rule, you will feel it in every breath. You will walk through the noise untouched, through the fire unconsumed, through the darkness unafraid, because you have learned the secret that most never will, that the only true power is mastery of the self, and that all other power is illusion. You will know then that the mind, once tamed, becomes your greatest ally. It can endure insult, resist temptation, and transform adversity into fuel. It becomes a still pool reflecting truth, not a storm distorting it. And when that happens, the world cannot harm you, for you no longer fight it, you understand it. You no longer seek to own it, you harmonize with it. You no longer chase peace, you are peace. And that is the unseen crown, the one worn not on the head, but in the heart. The silent sovereignty of the mind that no man can take, no storm can shake, and no time can decay. For the hidden kingdom was never lost. It only waited for you to return and remember that you were always its rightful ruler. Pain is the oldest teacher in existence, yet the most misunderstood. We spend our lives running from it, masking it, drowning it, cursing it, when all along it was the only thing honest enough to show us who we truly are. Suffering does not come to destroy you. It comes to reveal you. It comes to burn away everything false, to strip you of illusions, to make you remember that peace cannot be borrowed from the world. It must be built within. You say you wish to be wise, yet you avoid the very forge where wisdom is made. You say you wish to be strong, yet you flee the weight that would strengthen you. You say you wish to know yourself, yet you turn away from the mirror of pain, because it shows you what comfort hides. Every difficulty is a reflection, every wound a lesson written in fire. When life presses you, it does not do so to break you. It does so to show you the shape of your own soul. You are not supposed to escape all pain, you are supposed to understand it. The wound is not the enemy, the wound is the message. It says, here is where you are still attached. Here is where you still resist. Here is what you still fear to lose. The wise do not curse the sting. They study it. They ask, what is this trying to teach me? And when they learn, the same pain that once ruled them becomes their servant. You cannot live without suffering, but you can learn how to suffer well. The one who suffers without wisdom becomes bitter. The one who suffers with understanding becomes unshakable. The first curse is fate. The second thanks it for the fire that purified him. Every trial is an invitation to patience, to endurance, to clarity, and those who accept it walk differently. Their eyes no longer search for pity, their hearts no longer beg for ease. They carry their burden as proof of their strength, not as a mark of their misfortune. Look closely at your pain before you name it unfair. What if the thing you call tragedy is the medicine your soul has been asking for? What if the loss you mourn is the very door through which freedom enters? What if the delay, the betrayal, the loneliness are not punishments, but lessons designed to untie the knots within you? Suffering has never been your enemy. Resistance has. We imagine that the good life is the painless life, but ease makes you soft, while adversity makes you solid. The tree that grows in calm soil grows tall but weak. The one that grows against the wind digs its roots deeper. The same storm that breaks branches also strengthens trunks. The same fire that destroys the forest also clears the ground for new growth. So it is with you. The blows that strike your heart are shaping it. The storms that shake your peace are grounding it. The pain that you call cruel is the chisel that reveals your hidden strength. Do not waste your suffering. Most people do. They complain, they curse, they seek distractions to dull the ache. But pain ignored does not vanish. It multiplies. It follows you, wearing new faces, until you finally face it with stillness. Only then does it loosen its grip. The moment you stop asking, "Why me?" and begin asking, "What for?" the same suffering that once enslaved you begins to set you free. Pain is the test of your philosophy. It asks, do you live by words or by truth? It strips you of pretense, of borrowed wisdom, of easy virtue. It shows you whether your strength is real or merely spoken. The calm man who preaches peace when the skies are blue, his virtue is untested. But when storms come, when betrayal strikes, when the ground beneath him gives way, then we see what he truly is. That moment reveals the truth, whether he built his foundation on vanity or discipline, on noise or silence, on comfort or character. To suffer is to meet yourself without disguise. When pain comes, you cannot pretend. The mask falls and only the essence remains. You see what you depend on, what you cling to, what you cannot let go. You see whether you love truth more than convenience, whether your values are built on desire or principle. This is why pain is holy. It purifies by revealing. We live in a time that worships ease. We treat discomfort as failure and pain as a problem to fix. But you cannot numb your way to wisdom. You cannot hide from life and still hope to grow. To live without suffering is to live without depth. The heart that has never been broken cannot understand love. The mind that has never been challenged cannot hold wisdom. The soul that has never endured cannot know peace. Suffering humbles you. It brings you to your knees, and from there, you learn to look inward. It teaches you that all the things you thought were permanent, status, possessions, control, are nothing but sand. It teaches you that peace built on externals will always crumble. The wise learn to build their house within, where no storm can reach. That is the quiet gift of pain. It leads you home to yourself. Do not curse the hand that wounds you. Ask instead what it awakens in you. Pain awakens patience. Loss awakens gratitude. Failure awakens clarity. Without these teachers, we would remain asleep, drifting, untested, fragile. Life shakes us not to torment us, but to wake us. The measure of a person is not how little they suffer, but how they stand in the face of it. Some fall apart at the first touch of discomfort. Others stand tall through the fires of life and emerge gentler, wiser, quieter. Strength is not loud. It is the silent endurance that refuses to surrender virtue for relief. When you suffer, you are given a choice to grow bitter or to grow better. Bitterness is the easy path. It demands nothing but complaint. Growth demands everything. It asks you to stay awake, to remain still, to observe even your agony without judgment. It asks you to forgive those who wronged you, to accept what you cannot change, to love even what hurts. Few can do this, but those who do become unbreakable. Suffering is the furnace that tests your soul's material. It melts away what is false and leaves what is real. If you resist, you remain hard and brittle. If you allow, you are shaped into something enduring. The greatest spirits in history did not escape pain. They were refined by it. They saw pain not as punishment, but as a path. They walked through darkness, not because they enjoyed it, but because they trusted it led somewhere true. You cannot decide when pain comes, but you can decide what it makes of you. When you are hurt, ask, what is this revealing about me? Does it show my attachment, my pride, my fear? When you are wronged, ask, what is this giving me a chance to practice? Is it patience? Is it compassion? Is it humility? Every wound carries within it the seed of virtue. If you water it with awareness, it grows into strength. We are taught to run from pain, but the wise walk toward it with understanding. Not to seek suffering, but to face it when it arrives, to look it in the eye and say, "You will not define me. You will refine me." This is not denial, it is dominion. It is the art of transforming adversity into insight, grief into gratitude, and loss into liberation. When life breaks you, remember, it is not the breaking that defines you, but what you build afterward. The same hammer that shatters glass shapes iron. You choose which you are. When you fall, rise differently. Rise quieter, rise wiser, rise not to prove, but to understand. Pain strips away the unnecessary. It shows you what truly matters. In suffering, you learn that peace is not the absence of difficulty, but the mastery of it. You learn that happiness does not depend on circumstance, but on discipline. You learn that love is not fragile. It endures loss and still gives. Do not fear suffering. Fear instead a life too easy, for ease breeds forgetfulness. It makes you fragile, entitled, blind to what truly matters. The soul that never suffers never awakens. The heart that never breaks never learns to love deeply. The mind that never doubts never learns to see clearly. Suffering invites you to slow down, to look inward, to stop running. It whispers you are not in control, and you never were. And in that truth, strangely, there is freedom. You stop fighting what you cannot command. You stop demanding what life does not owe. You begin to live, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a student of existence. When you face pain, face it fully. Do not flinch. Do not dramatize it. Do not decorate it with stories of injustice. Simply observe it. Feel it without naming it, without feeding it, and then watch. It will move through you like a wave, leaving clarity in its wake. Suffering, when met with awareness, transforms into wisdom. The world will tell you that suffering is something to avoid, but the world is mistaken. The world seeks comfort because it fears awakening. But if you are willing to look deeper, you will see that every sorrow refines your compassion, every setback tempers your patience, every failure purifies your intent. Life uses pain to sculpt your soul into something vast enough to hold peace. There is a dignity in suffering that few understand. It is not the dignity of pride, but of presence. The quiet grace of one who does not collapse beneath the weight, who walks through the fire without bitterness, who accepts what is without surrendering who they are. That dignity cannot be taken by fate, because it does not depend on fate. It lives within choice. You are stronger than you think, but you will never know it until you are tested. The calm sea does not reveal the skill of the sailor, the storm does. The easy day does not prove the strength of your soul. The dark one does. Pain is not the end of the path. It is the path. It leads you to the truth that the only thing that cannot be taken from you is your ability to respond with virtue. When pain comes, welcome it as you would a stern teacher. Sit with it, learn from it. Let it do its work, for when it leaves, it will take parts of you with it. The weak parts, the false parts, the fearful parts. And what remains will be cleaner, clearer, truer. That is the silent reward of suffering. It leaves you more yourself than you were before. And so, when you are wounded, do not say, "I have lost." Say instead, "I have been shown." When you suffer, do not ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What now?" For the one who learns to see suffering not as cruelty but as correction, not as punishment but purification, that one cannot be defeated, because even in pain they are learning, even in loss they are gaining, even in darkness they are seeing. There comes a moment when the noise of the world becomes too loud to bear, when every voice around you is shouting, chase this, buy that, prove yourself, win more, be seen. When the rhythm of life turns into a race, and you, without noticing, begin to run toward everything except yourself. That is the moment when the quiet ones begin to wake. Not the loud, not the proud, not the restless, but the still. They hear in the chaos a deeper call, one that says stop, step out, remember who you are. The quiet rebellion is not a war fought with others, it is a war fought within. It is the decision to no longer live as the world commands, but as truth demands. It is to see that almost everything people chase is a chain disguised as freedom, status, possessions, validation, applause. The masses call it ambition, the wise call it captivity. Because what you must understand is this: when your peace depends on the noise, you are no longer free. Freedom begins the moment you stop asking life to be easy and start demanding of yourself to be clear. You stop begging for comfort and begin seeking understanding. You stop reacting to every slight, every opinion, every outcome, and instead you learn to observe, to breathe, to remain. The quiet rebellion is the art of walking through a world that has forgotten silence, and yet remaining unshaken in it. To rebel quietly is to reject the worship of chaos. It is to say, I will not measure myself by what fades. It is to walk away from the crowd not with pride but with peace. To let the world spin as it must, while you move with still purpose through it. It is not escape, it is mastery. It is not apathy, it is discipline. You must understand, true rebellion is not rage. Rage is noise wearing the mask of strength. The world loves outrage because it keeps people distracted. The true rebel is not the one who shouts against the system, but the one who no longer needs it to define him. The one who can live unnoticed, yet unbroken. The one who does not perform goodness for applause, but practices it in solitude. The one who does not crave victory in the eyes of others, but triumph within his own conscience. You live in an age where silence is feared. People cannot sit still for a moment without reaching for something to fill the void. Music, screens, voices, noise. They believe silence is emptiness, but silence is strength. In silence, you see what truly rules you. You meet the thoughts you've been running from. You hear the voice you've been drowning out. The one that has been trying to remind you of who you were before the world told you who to be. The quiet rebellion begins there, when you are no longer afraid of hearing yourself. To walk this path, you must become a stranger to many things. A stranger to gossip, because it poisons clarity. A stranger to vanity, because it feeds illusion. A stranger to outrage, because it burns virtue. And yet, though you may seem distant from the world, you are closer to life than ever, for you have chosen presence over performance, purpose over applause. The crowd will not understand your calm. They will mistake it for weakness, for indifference, for pride. They will ask, why don't you fight back? Why don't you shout? Why don't you prove yourself? But the rebel within you knows, fighting back against every shadow only multiplies shadows. You cannot argue the storm into stillness. You can only remain the mountain beneath it. You can only refuse to be moved. Every quiet act of restraint is rebellion. Every time you choose patience over reaction, you break the pattern of the world. Every time you respond to insult with dignity, you shatter the illusion that others can control you. Every time you lose something and yet remain grateful, you declare that your peace is not for sale. You become a living contradiction to a culture that worships reaction, indulgence, and pride. That is the rebellion. The courage to be calm in a world addicted to chaos. You are told to have opinions on everything, but the wise know that silence is an opinion too, one that says, this does not deserve my energy. You are told to prove your worth through comparison, but the wise know that comparison is poison. You are told to always be right, but the wise know that peace is worth more than victory. To walk in quiet rebellion is to see that the world's currency, approval, attention, validation, is worth nothing to a soul that values truth. The quiet rebellion begins when you realize you do not need to chase what is already within you. You stop grasping for happiness as if it were a possession. You stop demanding that others treat you as you wish. You stop expecting life to bend for your comfort. You start to live with simplicity, with discipline, with presence. You discover that peace is not a gift from circumstance. It is a skill. And like all skills, it demands practice. To live this way requires courage. More courage than shouting, more courage than conquest. Because it is the courage to face yourself, to look at your own impulses and say no, not this time, to feel the pull of desire and not move, to feel the sting of insult and not retaliate, to feel the ache of uncertainty and not fill it with distraction. This is the rebellion that terrifies the world, because it cannot be controlled. A man who needs nothing cannot be manipulated. The quiet rebel does not seek to be understood. He understands. He watches the patterns of humanity with compassion, not contempt. He sees the anger, the fear, the greed, and says, I will not add to it. His resistance is invisible. It is the slow discipline of choosing integrity in every small decision. It is the refusal to live as a slave to emotion. It is the vow to walk in alignment with truth, even when no one sees, even when it costs him praise, comfort, or belonging. You must learn to stand alone without loneliness. You must learn to walk silently without losing purpose. You must learn to be gentle without being weak. The quiet rebellion is not against others. It is against the noise within you. The endless chatter that says you must become, achieve, prove, impress. To silence that voice is to overthrow your greatest tyrant. There will be days when the noise feels overwhelming. When people around you mistake your calm for coldness. When you are tempted to join the crowd, to argue, to shout, to win. Remember then that stillness is not withdrawal, it is wisdom. The ocean does not chase the storm. It absorbs it and remains vast. So too must you learn to absorb the noise of the world without becoming it. This rebellion is not dramatic. It is subtle, steady, invisible. It is in the way you breathe before responding, in the way you listen more than you speak, in the way you do what is right, even when unnoticed, in the way you forgive quietly and move on. The world expects noise. It does not know what to do with calm. That is your power. Your calm confuses chaos. You will notice something as you walk this path. The quieter you become, the clearer the world appears. You begin to see how much energy is wasted on defending egos, on fearing loss, on chasing validation. You begin to see how little control you ever had, and how unnecessary control truly is. The world's chaos no longer pulls you, it passes around you like wind around stone. You have not escaped life, you have finally begun to live it. People will say you've changed, but you will know you've only returned. Returned to simplicity, to presence, to the quiet dignity that has always been your birthright. You will stop explaining yourself. You will stop arguing for your worth. You will stop reacting to every wave that hits you. You will understand that truth needs no defense and peace needs no permission. The quiet rebellion is the decision to stop fighting for appearances and start fighting for essence. To care more about character than image, more about virtue than validation, more about being true than being liked. It is the death of vanity and the birth of authenticity. It is not glamorous. It is not popular. But it is powerful. For when you no longer need the world's applause, the world loses its power over you. You will learn to move differently. You will speak less. But when you speak, your words will carry weight. You will act without seeking reward, and yet your actions will bear fruit. You will forgive without announcement, and yet peace will follow you. This is not detachment. It is mastery. You will no longer chase the highs or flee the lows. You will walk through both with the same steady step. And as you continue, you will see that rebellion was never about standing against the world. It was about standing firm within yourself. The noise cannot reach you unless you open the door. The opinions cannot wound you unless you grant them power. The chaos cannot move you unless you forget your stillness. The world shouts, react, and you whisper, observe. The world says, prove yourself, and you reply, I am already enough. The quiet rebellion is to live by principle, not impulse. To choose peace over pride, wisdom over winning, stillness over spectacle. It is to see that every moment is an opportunity to add noise or to bring calm. And the one who chooses calm again and again becomes the anchor in the storm. The world cannot comprehend this kind of strength. It measures power in noise, not in discipline. But the strongest are not those who control others. They are those who control themselves. The quiet rebel understands this and therefore does not waste his energy trying to dominate. He spends it on refinement, on the slow, invisible work of becoming whole. And when the world burns with anger, he remains kind. When others rush to speak, he waits. When all chase more, he chooses less. When all demand comfort, he chooses clarity. That is the rebellion. To live by your own measure, to serve truth instead of trend, to walk through life untouched by its frenzy, calm, not because you ignore the storm, but because you have mastered how to stand within it. To live this way is not to withdraw from life, it is to elevate above its noise. You still engage, still act, still love, still work, but from stillness, not from struggle. You become the one who brings peace instead of seeking it, who carries light instead of begging for it, who walks through confusion with composure. This is the quiet rebellion to exist fully, simply peacefully, in a world that profits from your restlessness. To live without needing to be right, without needing to be seen, without needing to win. To rise each day not to conquer others, but to conquer yourself once more. To remain gentle in a world that mistakes gentleness for weakness. To remain still in a world that worships speed. To remain true in a world that forgets truth.